Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Welcome to another episode of Africa Before Africa podcasts. As usual, I am the host for today, and my name is Muyolua Adegbe, Programs Officer for Africa Rising. Thank you so much for those that has been joining us since the inception, and for our new audience, thank you so much for joining in. So this episode today, we're going to be talking about story correcting Africa through media and creativity. And as you all know, I always have a guest with me. In here today again, I have a guest. This time around, it's not a woman, he is a man. So I'm going to bring him up and have him introduce himself.
Hello.
Good
Um,
evening.
Hi, Mui. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, I can. Loud and clear. Good
Okay,
evening.
fantastic. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me. Okay. I don't know
So
what to
would
say.
you please do us the honor of introducing yourself?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. All right, everyone. My name is Obute the Storyteller. I mean, what I do is already in the name. Okay, so I consider myself a storyteller more because I understand the importance of storytelling. And for me, I go by the quote that we are remembered by the stories that people tell about us, basically. So that's what I do. Okay, for work, I currently work for the Nigerian government in some capacity, but I'm also a creative. I have a platform called the Glow Tribe that is aimed at promoting sane content on social media space. You will agree with me that social media these days, if you go on social media, I mean, your eyes are going to see a lot of things that you cannot
I
even
know,
actually
right?
utter by yourself. So I am building a platform for godly, and sane creatives to be able to showcase their craft, their art, and pretty much plays to what we're talking about today, doesn't it? So yeah, that's just about me, and I think that's just about it. Thank you, Moe.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making our time to be our guest on today's episode. Like you said,
My
we're really
pleasure.
glad to have you. And I have watched quite a few of your YouTube videos, and I must commend you. You're doing a great job there. You're doing a great job in
Thank you.
engaging, in disseminating information in a clear way, which is worthy to point out to you. So, like I said, thank
Thank
you
you
so
very
much
much.
for those that are just joining us again. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about story correcting Africa through media and creativity. Now, from the title, from the topic of the day, if we're trying to correct something, that means we have to do a job of pointing out what is wrong with it, because if there's nothing
True.
wrong with it, there wouldn't be a need to correct it. If someone is not sick, if a thing is not bad, there wouldn't be a need to repair or correct or treat the person. So that's going to be taking us to our point of discussion, our first point of discussion today. So, how do you think the media portrays Africa as a whole continent? What do you think about the portrayal? When I mean portrayal of Africa, do they portray it as a good continent, as a beautiful continent, as a continent that is filled with good amenities that other people would want to come in to come and make use of, and take a not necessarily take advantage of, make use of it, and then come invest there, come do something in there, and then just publicize it to the world? What do you think about how media portrays Africa?
All right. So thank you for that question. And for me, I don't want to ramble. I don't want to go on and on about what is happening. I mean, I don't want you to take my words for it. So let's do a little bit of, let's just do something. Okay. I'm going to try and minimize my screen. Now, when we say media, right? I just want to point it out. There are different, of course, expressions of media, and the aim of media is communication. True. And the aim of communication is
Yeah.
comprehension, right? To change a perception or to enforce a perception. So we're going to do something, and it is because I have done a little bit of research. So 73% of Europeans still do main screen, television engagement, right? So I know that there's the age of the social media, which I will get to, right? But let's stick with conventional old time media, which is the newspapers, the television, the cable news networks, and the likes. So what I'm going to do right now is pick three, or let's do four. Let's do four mainstream cable medias. If I say one of the first four that should come to mind, I'm sure CNN makes the list. I'm sure BBC. makes the list. Euronews is something. Al Jazeera, people know Al Jazeera a lot. So what we're going to do is just quickly go through what they've reported about Africa today. All right. So
Okay.
give me a second while I pull up. So I don't necessarily have it. So we're just going to go to bbc.com and give me a second while I try to just type that out.
No
BBC
problem.
on Africa today. Right. I might need my external keyboard. Okay, you know what? Let me not do it. Do you have access to so that people don't think, all right, let me use my phone if that works. All right. So because I want to be seeing your
Yeah,
face
that's
more.
fine.
All right. So BBC on Africa today. I'm searching that and I'm going on bbc.com. News on Africa today. First news. Surprise return to Botswana by ex-president to face trial. Second news. Education reform now threatens South African government unity. Third news. Government to welcome 250,000 Kenyans in labor. Fourth news. Police, parasols and paint, polish rather, parasols and paint, Africa stop short. Fifth, anti-apartheid veteran and corruption fighter dies. Infrastructure must improve for Africa to win World Cup. Morocco confirms first mpox case in current outbreak. So if you take a list of what they have said concerning Africa, there's none of it that actually portrays Africa in good light. None. That is, I've read like 7 today. But that's just
Right.
one. CNN on Africa today. This is like today. I'm not even talking about history, historical data. The first report on CNN on Africa today, floods gush through Nigerian zoo, sweeping snakes and crocodiles into neighborhoods. 2, alleged killer of Ugandan Olympian dies from burns, hospital says. 3, at least 21 killed in airstrike on Sudanese market as civil war rages. 4, explosions kill at least 48. I mean, I can go on and on. Do you want me to still go to Al Jazeera, or you'll get the picture?
Right.
For time sake, you get the picture.
Right. Let's do the last one.
Let's do the last one. All right, let's do Al Jazeera or Euronews. I think Al Jazeera works. Let's do Al Jazeera on Africa today. All right. What does it say? I've not even opened it. I'm seeing murdered Ugandan Olympian. I mean, like, I've not even opened the link. All right, so now I've opened the link. Okay. It says, murdered Ugandan Olympian Rebecca Cheptegi's funeral march begins in Kenya. Number 2, I will die trying. Gambian migrant. Okay, I will die trying. That's a quote. Gambian migrant deportees dream of return to Europe. Are you seeing what I'm saying? I mean, you can go from, in fact, Africa CDC urges Western countries to boost funding for mpox response. You can go on and on. It's the same thing, okay? All right, so give me a second. I didn't actually share this link on my WhatsApp status and my Facebook. So let me just do that in a minute.
All right, that's fine.
Second.
No problem.
Join us live on Storytelling to Correct Africa. Okay. All right, so my apologies. I should have done that earlier, but
No problem. No problem.
and
Thank
all of
you.
that. You know, I told you that I work for the government in some level, some capacity. So I just got back from my day job.
Right.
Okay, so like I said, you can take a look at or take an assay of all of the news flashes on Africa from the top major media conglomerates in the world, and 80% or 90% of the time, it is bad news. It is just bad news. It portrays Africa as a shithole. In fact, one president, I think President Donald Trump said, was it Africa? He said, "Oh, Nigeria is a shithole country," you know? So that's the perspective. You can't find, thank you, you can't find anything appealing about Africa out on the media. By media, I mean on the news, on screens, and all whatnot. But I will tell you this because it's important I point this out. The media has to, lovely seeing you too, Ife. Great work you're doing here, by the way. So the media has to sell stories for them to remain relevant and stay afloat because they are also a company. They deal with numbers. So if they don't have the numbers, they cannot find advertising companies coming to come and pay them. So they have to drive numbers. And one way the media drives numbers is to find something that will elicit a response from you, some sort of emotional response from you. And one of the greatest emotional response that the media gains, especially mainstream media, I'll speak about social media in a bit, especially mainstream media, is fear. Fear is a very potent, well, I will call it emotion for lack of a better word in this conversation. But if we are speaking in Christian spheres, I wouldn't call it an emotion because it goes beyond just an emotion. But let me stay within this sphere of emotion, right? Because of our audience. Fear is viral. It goes viral before you know it. So, Moi, have you ever had a WhatsApp message forwarded to you, let's say by an elderly person, say, "Don't do this, so don't do that. It will cost you so and so and so." Yeah, it's because there is
Right,
fear
a lot.
attached to that. When Ebola came into the world, there was a point in time where they said that you guys should bath with salt water. Did that get to you? Did
Right,
you?
of course, of course.
Yes.
And how our parents would literally have us do those things.
Why do you think they did that? Fear. The only reason that message went viral is because of fear. And the only reason why mainstream, not that's not the only reason, by the way, but one of the reasons why mainstream media would like to portray Africa in a bad light is because they want to sell the narrative of fear. Fear works. Fear gets people glued to their seats. Fear gets them the views that they require. That's one thing, right? But I'll get to another thing, which when we get to why are they doing that. But to stick to your question, let me come back to your question, right? Africa has not been painted in a good light at all. Not by the movie industry, not by the mainstream media, not even by Africans themselves, right? So it is a pandemic. It is something that needs to be corrected. It is a serious big deal. All right. So that's my response to it. I mean, of course, I've shown you with evidence that Africa has
Right.
not been painted in a good light.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I love the perspective you took to it, looking at the news for today, not even trying to say probably some things have changed as of the world today. Well, we literally checked three
Yeah,
news channels and it's all bad news. Not
it's
one,
all
not
bad
one
news.
of them even pointed out a little good news. Maybe like it's just really disheartening. And it's worthy to note that not just people outside Africa, even Africans are not doing a good job of projecting Africa in a good light, even the movie.
Yeah,
And of course, I resonate with the fact that movie industry are not doing any better either. They are always doing things to project Africa in a
yeah.
terrible way in different aspects in medicine, in
Mm-hmm.
engineering, in technology, in every even in family life
Yeah,
up to the family,
yes,
the
yes.
basic root of the society, family life. They don't even do any good in projecting Africa in a good way. Now let's go to the next question. Why you already kind of touched about why you think this is so, but I feel there could be much more to this. There has to
Oh,
be a
there is
reason why
much more.
over the years, up to date, it is still the
Yeah.
same old story of is it at times I feel is it in a bit to get people to show us mercy or is it in a bit to attract so many good things to us? But I've come to discover that it's not necessarily that because it's not like
Mm.
we're really getting so much more from these other countries or these other continents. Instead, they are always treating us bad. I'm saying that carefully. They're always looking for an opportunity to take advantage of us
Yeah.
at every given opportunity, or looking for an opportunity to put us out there to get other continents or other countries to help them so that they can
Yeah.
come help us.
Mm. Okay. So the question of why, right, is I will say it's a hydra, it's a multi-headed snake, right? But just so that we can participate at some level to this conversation, I will call a couple of cities, right? And okay, so I'm a Nigerian. I mean, for the benefit of all those that are coming in that are not Nigerian, but I'm speaking on the African scale. But some of the questions I will throw out will be primarily around Nigeria. So I'll ask you a question, and everyone that is listening, I will call out a place or a state or a location, and I want you to respond to me with the very first thing that comes to your mind. Okay? Now, I don't want to give intellectual conversations. I want to give conversations that are personal. So permit me to personalize this, which is why I want to go in this direction. So I will call out a place, and that also applies to you, Moi. I'll call out a place, and all the people
That's
that are
fine.
joining in, please give me the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear what I say. Okay? All right. So for everyone that is joining live, you can also send a chat, a comment, right? So we're in Nigeria. So the first place I'm going to call is Lagos. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Togri.
If like somebody has done you dirty in Lagos. Okay, fantastic. I mean, I don't see the chat box yet, but I hope that you guys are responding. Another place I would call
Okay,
Akwa Ibom.
someone said traffic.
Traffic. Yes. Yes. Please, yes. Okay, so next place, Akwa Ibom. Is it my network? Do I have a network challenge? Give me a second. Apologize.
So I don't really know about. Please, for our audience that knows about Akwa Ibom, what can they say about it? Okay, okay. Someone said
Ibom
only said Ibom
Air.
here.
Ibom Air. Okay, I was not getting you for a little bit. I thought it was my network. Okay, I'll call one more place. But let's call 2 or 3 more places, right? So
Okay.
Moi, this is to you. I know Oyi, she might give a different response, but what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say Jos?
Fight, war.
Mm.
That's like the two things. It doesn't look
Mm.
like a land that has peace in it, actually. At least from what we
Exactly.
see
And
in the
it's the home of
news.
peace. So that's our that's the name of Jos, home of peace. Crisis. Only said crisis. Okay. I'll call one more place and then the last one. Maiduguri. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
All of those sides generally is like crisis, oh, civil
All of those sides like
unrest at every given
civil
opportunity.
unrest. All right.
Right.
What about if I say um oh no, there's this place that everybody likes to go to. It's kind of skipping my head right now. All right, let me say what comes to your mind when you hear Manchester?
What comes to my mind? The name
Or
alone is sweet. So the only thing that could come to my mind is really beautiful things, right? The train, the
Oyin said
airport.
masters. Oh my god. Okay. The reason I went this route, right, is that you will see that for the places you called that you said crisis, which is like places like Jos, places like Maiduguri.
Okay, Lady Best said
He
football.
says football. Yeah. So for the places that you say crisis or um, Yeah, Crisis, Abi, Jos, and Meduguri. These are places you've never been to, I believe. Have you been to Jos?
No,
You've never been there. But you have a perspective,
I've never been there.
you have a bias concerning the place even before you get there.
Right.
You've never seen it. And unfortunately, nobody might be able to change your mind until you experience it. Now, I lived in Jos for give or take
That's
3
true.
years, almost 4 years, and I enjoyed my stay. I enjoyed the weather. That's not the first thing that comes to your mind. I enjoyed the fresh food. That's not the first thing that comes to your mind. I enjoyed the hospitality. You don't know any of these things. You've not experienced it, but nobody talks about it, so nobody knows. The only thing they know is that there's a crisis, there was a crisis, and it's a very volatile place. That's the first thing that people come to know about a place. It's that the perception that people have about a place is almost as strong as the reality of the place, because you might never experience it, but you already have a bias, right? So if
That's
there
true.
is a narrative being pushed by media for people to have a bias, it means there's so much in store that they don't want people to know about. Okay? I lived in Meduguri also. Meduguri was a fantastic place. Up until we had a crisis. But even till date, I have a brother that lives and works there. Guess what? Some of the numbers about the crisis are so exaggerated because of the second reason, which I'll get to. All right. So you ask the question, why do they do these things? Now, it's deeply rooted in the motives of, first of all, I talked about media selling numbers. But when you go a step ahead or above media, because media report to some people, when you go a step above media, that's where it begins to come to the motives of a select few. Now, have you ever had a conversation with a person? Well, I have had a conversation with a person that is not of African origin. And the first thing I'm asking is, oh, where are you from? The person say, oh, I'm from Lebanon, right? And then the person asks me, where am I from? Or he says, oh, are you African? What he has done is he has taken the entire 54 countries, right?
Right.
And made it one small thing to say all of us are coming from there. It is
Right.
one European over impression of themselves. It's like excess domineering, right? It's an over exaggeration of who they are, So the first thing is people want to belittle Africa, and it's a narcissistic perspective. If a person that is a narcissist wants to, for example, get something that is of value of you, they will first make you feel like that thing has
It's
no
useless.
value. And when they
That's
make you
true.
feel like it has no value, you will let go of the valuable thing, and they will paint a picture of the things that have value, so much so you lose track of the thing that is valuable in your hands and start to pursue something else that they have painted as valuable. And when you go in that direction, they come in the other side and pick up what is valuable for
Exactly.
you. Europe didn't come to Africa because they lacked space. They came to Africa. If you want to go into the history of how the interaction is, that's a very lengthy conversation. But I'll stick to the things that really matter to us. It is that Africa is, I believe, on earth, is the most priceless piece of real estate on earth. It is absolutely the best piece of real estate on earth. But they first have to make you feel like you guys over there don't have nothing going for you. Right? You have nothing going for you. Come over here. Right? And when they do that,
Exactly.
they also, by the back door, go on to be able to take your resources. You do realize that a lot of the European countries exist today and are developed today on the back of the resources they took from Africa. So now I'll get
That's
to
very true.
Meduguri for a reason. Some of the numbers are exaggerated because they want more funding for non-governmental organizations. So if you go to Meduguri, Meduguri is full of non-governmental organizations. There is no non-governmental organization that I know of that doesn't have a headquarter, a space rather,
In
in
Maiduguri.
Maiduguri. Why?
Mm,
Because they have to make you feel like everything that's happening is bomb, bomb, bomb. It's crisis, crisis, crisis. Everybody is going.
right.
I live
And they're
there.
always needing help.
That's the thing. So they make us feel like we are people that cannot govern ourselves. That's why they come and dislodge government. They make us feel like we really don't have anything going for us. So much so that we will exclude ourselves from where we're supposed to be and go to another place in search of other things. Whereas they steal and take away from African resource. And by resource, I'm not just talking about just minerals, and because Africa is like the deposit, it's like the hub of minerals.
Even manpower.
Even manpower. Check it. Many of the people that are doing exploits in medicine, in robotics, in neuroscience, African origin. Do you understand? So beyond just resource, which they have to go through governmental, levels, they are also doing what we call a brain drain. But trust me, Africa is so rich, we really cannot drain our brain. It really, really. I mean, we we really are a well. You know when they say the well that can never run dry, it's really
They
what
just keep digging and it keeps going down and down
and it
and
keeps
down.
going. So they're trying to take what is valuable from you by making what is very priceless in your hand look like rubbish, and then take the major resource that is in your hand, the human capital, the mineral resources, the real estate. Have you seen the kind of, well, I don't want to say some things on this live, but there are a few I have been privy to information about real estate purchases of Chinese companies, European companies, and I'm marveled because we have prime real estate. Prime, I
That's
mean,
true.
go check it. Majority of the natural disasters, I mean, that the rest of the world is prone to, we don't
We are
see any of
not.
that here. There's a lot of
Right.
stability. Okay, so I've gone on and on about a thing, right? The purpose for me, it's multifaceted. Like I said, it's like a multi-headed hydra, but it will still form around the resources that we have in Africa. And then also, we do realize that some of these non-governmental organizations and foundations are a means of tax break for some of the wealthy billionaires in the European states and in the United States. Let's not
Exactly.
go into that, So sometimes they do these foundations and they say they are coming to give aid to Africa. They paint Africa. If you see every documentary BBC puts, it's one small boy that has not drank water in 4 days. It's this one that has to walk 1,000 miles before he gets to school. It's a
Or
school
one
that
school
is
that lacks
dilapidated.
table and chair, or
You
an
get
hospital
it.
that lacks hospital beds to have people in it. It's just
You
really,
get, I
it's
mean,
something
you
else
understand these
entirely.
things. But at the end of the day, they are pushing agenda, they are getting numbers for their media, they are getting tax breaks for their billionaire wages, they are getting resources from Africa. I mean, you can go on and on as to what the reason is, but of course, we can't sit here and keep crying foul. Once we know the purpose, we can find a way around it.
Yeah. So we have a question. Oyin said social media has widened the playing field for creating narratives. Why does it still feel like the story is not changing?
Okay, so for me, I understand that social media has done a lot, but I wouldn't say it has evened the playing field. Okay? Now, I will ask only a question. If you see a post on Instagram and you see a comment on News at 9, which will you think as more authentic?
For
Most
me, I
time.
feel it's literally the one on Instagram.
Oh, you feel it's the one of Instagram. Okay. All right. For me, because of the prevalence of fake news and the virality of it,
Oyin even said she doesn't watch news. So she only gets her information.
you get your information from the gram or from internet. Well, Oyin, I have some sort of unpleasant news for you. The world still watches TV. That's it. And a very vast majority of people, even in the United States and in the European countries, get a lot of their information from their television screens, right? So if you check, I did a research and I noticed that about 50 something percent, take the validity of wow. Wow, am I getting old? I'm not going to dignify that with a response. But a vast majority of people get their information from mainstream media still, right? Now, social media is breaking in and is doing a lot of good, but it hasn't gotten the level of the confidence that mainstream media has. Do you know why? Recently, there's been a lot of controversies around social media too, because there is a lot of censoring on social media. I hope you know that, right? Nigerians
That's
don't
true.
have like there's still a lot of censoring. Okay, so let me tell you something. For Africa Rising that posted, one of the things that when you go on Twitter and a thing goes viral, many times they actually pick it up from news too. So even social media feeds from news. So you'll see that okay,
Yes.
an interview on Arise TV and it goes viral on social media. So it's okay, it goes viral on. You understand? So to an
Yeah.
extent, I mean, as at now, I still feel like mainstream media has more confidence, but I don't think that will last for so much longer because you are beginning to see people shift. Even I will use this example. Tucker, I can't remember his first name. I think Carlson or thereabout. He used to be a reporter on Fox News, but now he runs his reporting on X, which is formerly Twitter. So it's not as though this thing is not gradually becoming having the confidence of the folks, right? But you'll notice that more people don't even take Instagram as much as they take Twitter. They feel like Twitter has more authenticity. Well, in my circle, in my
Right.
space, right? So you will
No,
see that social
generally,
media is
actually.
still coming up. It's still coming up. But in the same space where you are seeing a lot of authentic news on Twitter, you are also seeing a lot of fake news on Twitter. But you know that thing is a little filtered. All right? It's a little filtered on, when I say mainstream media, I'm talking about TVs and news and what's it called? Newspapers. Okay. So maybe that's the reason, only, but of course, there could be other factors. I can only speak to the cases that I know of. All right. So, yeah, that's about that question. Let me not ramble for much longer. I see that we spent a little bit of time on that.
Right, right. And it's actually a good one. Thank you so much for the time so far. So I was thinking that how then could this be changed? Because like you said earlier, Africans, we as Africans, we're not doing any better. Because at
Mm,
times, let's even forget about the social media or the news, even word of mouth, passing information. You see something, say for instance, an accident happened here, and I was a witness there, and then I see the event, like maybe no one died. When I want to, a typical African, when I want to tell another person, you literally see me exaggerating. About 5 people died there. And for other
yeah.
people, because I was the only one there, there is no
Mm,
other person that could literally say no, that's not true. And that's so, let's at times I'm like, let's forget about social media, even what we
yeah.
as individuals are doing, the way we're passing information across is either we're most of
Mm-hmm.
the time we're adding, we're not subtracting. We're
Yeah.
adding, and the
Yeah.
things we're adding, we're not adding the good things to it. We're literally making the whole issue complicated and
Yep.
worse than it would normally be,
Mm.
or than it is. So, how do you think these things can be resolved? What are the steps that we need to take as individuals, as even social media, mainstream media? What are the things that could be done to actually change the narrative?
Thank you so much for asking that question. But more importantly, thank you for the person that just sent a post. I think I saw a comment. Can I view comments here? I think I can. Oh, yes. The last person that commented said something, right? Someone said, Nigerians, we don't have light. And then the person said, Somebody just commented Nigerians don't have light. Another typical example of the negative story. We enjoy light on a level I've never seen in my over 30 years in this country. That's from Oluwak Pelumi. I'm going to murder your surname, so I'm not going to even attempt it. Okay, so, all right, so that's the thing. That's the thing. There's a cascading of a mindset, right? That has happened. And we've been crying foul for far too long. Okay? One of the dangers of a negative or a bad experience, sometimes you have the hurt and then you heal from the scar, right? But what that does for you goes beyond what has been physically done to you. It has an effect on your mind. I'll give an example. Say, for example, when you start a blog or you start a business. Let's use a business, for example. And the business crashes. Okay? You pick yourself up. Said, okay, I get my lessons. I've taken my points. And then you go to start another business. Let me tell you one thing that has happened to you by the death of your first business. It has dampened your imagination a little bit. So when you wanted to start your first business, your projections must have been astronomical. They probably wouldn't have been very realistic, right? So the effect of that failure ends up creating a blocker in your mind. It reduces the ability or the vastness of how much you can imagine, right? And if you have that thing done to you, let's say if you have 5 businesses that fail, you will most likely say, let me just go and get a local government job. Yeah? At least there is job security there. When you get that job, the bad part is that thing has happened to your mind, right? But when you have children, the ripple effect of it is that you will not raise your children to have vast imagination. You will raise your children on the shoulders of the experiences you've had. And that's what has cascaded from generation to generation to generation, even up until now. Transatlantic slave trade has ended how many years ago? But right now, still, the black populace will say, that's what happened to us, and that's why we are where we are. It is that the experience has stopped or blocked has given us, and permit me for lack of a better expression, an imagination dampening. It has kept us at a place. It has created a ceiling for us that we cannot see beyond our excuses. And that has actually even brought us to where we are, right? It has brought us to think of Nigeria the way we think of Nigeria. Brought us to think of Kenya the way we think of Kenya, Africa the way we think of Africa. Is because the imaginative space has been dampened and has been passed on from generation to generation. But the generation has to rise up and say, we're going to pass through this. This is not our reality. So this identity that has been cascaded and projected at us cannot be the identity we'll project to our children, cannot be the identity we'll project of ourselves, right? So how do we begin to change this narrative? It is first on an individual level for us to come to say, this is not our identity. We must accept that this is not our identity. The identity that is projected at us, that we are insufficient, we need help, we cannot self-govern, we don't have the ability to maintain government. That identity that is constantly projected, that has already been something that a generation has embodied, we must decide deliberately that that's not me, right? And once we come to that reality that that's not me, we are able to have imagination and dream. We're able to showcase ourselves without the fear of being shut down. I'll give you an example. I started out, or I am starting, I still believe I'm still in a starting phase of my journey as a storyteller. And I've been to a couple of countries. I've been to Ghana, I've been to Lebanon, and recently this year I went to the UK, I went to London. On my way to London, there was something I had to break in my mind, right? So at the airport in Heathrow, I pull out my monopod, and I put my camera on it, and I decided to record a video. And the reason I was doing that is to say, I might not have a lot of followership per se, I mean, at the time, but who I am does not require validation from anybody. Do you understand? If I
Yes.
believe I'm a storyteller, I will tell stories even if it is to one person. I'm not telling stories because I need the validation of another person. I am telling stories because that's my identity. If we agree that Africa is the priciest real estate upon the earth, that's who we are. And that will reflect in how we take or carry ourselves, our courage. We're not waiting for the validation of another country that consider themselves European powers. Do you understand? So, if I first break that limitation from my mind, I will start to tell the African narrative from the true identity of Africa. So, I saw a person post on Instagram, and that for me was a deal. It was a game changer for me. And what she posted was, "Come with me as I go to," what's the name of this popular destination, tourist destination in the world? It's kind of eluding me. But Moi, please help me. Yeah. It's like a beach-like place, and
Zanzibar.
Not Zanzibar, and not far. It's not Seychelles. I'm trying to remember something, and it's not Mali. It's not Zanzibar. Okay, I mean, I hope it comes to me before the end of this life, right? I am desperately trying to get it, but I hope it comes to me. But let's just use, it's not Mauritius.
Okay.
Oh God. Anytime it's very popular. It's very popular, but it's a popular. If I see it, I will just respond to you. But let's say, for example, let's use Zanzibar, for example, right? But that's not what she said. She said, "Come with me as I go to Zanzibar." And then I saw the video. It's not Bali. It's not Bali. Okay. And I saw the video. It was not Zanzibar, but it was beach-like. It was a floating bed, and it was beautiful. Guess what? I've been in Delta State this is my second year in Delta State, and I've been in the Niger Delta this is my fourth year in the Niger Delta. I did not know a place as beautiful as that existed behind my house. It's not Lagos. Don't be like that. Right? I did not know a place as beautiful as that existed right behind. Just behind my corner. I didn't need to spend so much to go to. I didn't need a visa to go to. But it was right here. But nobody was telling it. When she got up and said, "I have a beautiful spot," she used, of course, a foreign name just to gain traction. But when everyone saw it, they accepted that. Now, I'll use pidgin to say this. Now, Mumu, they go Zanzibar. Do you understand? There is a narrative of Africa that you believe is Africa. When you get the true identity of Africa, tell that story, even if it is to one person, not just by word of mouth. We have social media today that you can reach quite a number of people. Share it on social media. Say, tell your story. But do you know that the stories we tell are really the way people will remember us? Those are the reminders. It's the memories that we create that people will be remembered by. So if you are in tech, tell the tech story, and don't say people are not sharing, people are not speaking, right? Herald your own story and carry your matter on your head. Do you understand? I'm sorry if you don't understand pidgin. Sorry, it will come out. I should have given a disclaimer at the start of this video. I'll get animated and I'll speak some language you don't understand. And even if I enter my tribal language, just take it as it is. Tell your story, herald your story. It is your identity. So Moi, if you go on my Instagram, I have 300 and something followers. It doesn't stop me from calling myself the storyteller. I don't say I am a storyteller. I said I am the storyteller because I understand my identity, and I will speak from my identity. I wouldn't wait for the validation of another person to say this person. So that's why some people become depressed when they lose followership, because they have found their identity in the followership. That's why
the number of people following them.
Exactly. So my little solution, right? I call it little, but the way you eat an elephant is by taking it in little bits. Yeah. My little
Mhm.
solution is tell your story, be unapologetic about it, and be loud about it. The reason I'm saying be loud about it is because there's been a narrative that has been passed on from generation to generation and has given, people that are outside Nigeria, outside Africa, a perspective of Africa. We have to be loud about it. You have to drown that voice. Shout it out. Speak it on the rooftops. Whenever you get the opportunity, shout it. Every time you get an opportunity to interface with a person who wants to belittle the African narrative, no, 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 no. That's someone that is contributing to the darkness. That's someone that's contributing to the lie. Dislodge that lie. Every one of us has a role to play in
Mm.
the correction of the African narrative. I hope in my lifetime to go to more African countries, if not all the African countries, before I begin to even consider other places, because I know of the beautiful resource we have. I'm not looking outside. I
Mm.
really am not looking outside. In fact, please tell me whenever my time is my time is up. I
No,
mean,
it's
just please do
fine.
this. Just do this, and then I will know. In fact, what was I saying? I was talking about dispelling the narrative, right? In fact, recently I've
Yeah.
been having conversations around the Jackpa, the Jackpa wave. This is not the first Jackpa wave, by the way. It was the Jackpa wave in 1986, the Jackpa wave long before that. So all the shouts and all the amplification of the lie that people are saying, we don't have a brain drain. The best brains have not left Nigeria. The best brains have
Of
not left
course.
Africa. The same place where the people that have gone came from. We have 1,000 more that are going to come out from that place. So forget that.
Come from there.
Millions more. So someone asked me, why haven't you jackpot? I told the person I want to go to school, but I mean, I'm of course considering to go to a different school. My wife is, I'm married, by the way. Ring. my, my wife is a professional early years teacher, and we are thinking about places wherein people have done a good work in education, and we want to go
Right.
learn. So one of the places we identified was Finland. So when I was talking to a friend, I was asking, are you planning to leave this country at any point in time? I said, yeah, at some point, probably go for a 2 years, a 3 years, but I will be back to my roots because I feel like this is where I will be. I mean, this is my spot, And he said, why Finland? I said, because there's an educational prowess that these people have exemplified, and we will
Yeah,
glean
actually
of it.
really good.
Yes, they've been like the world best until I think Belarus or something recently, but not to digress. I said this to say, I said there's something they're doing right. We will learn of what they're doing right, but we will not use that to change the African narrative. We'll come and glean of their knowledge, right? Glean of what they've
Knowledge.
learned and done right,
And
but
apply
we
it.
will give it in the Nigerian way. We will do it in such a way we don't lose ourselves and our culture. Now, this is not a conversation around how much of our culture we've lost from
Yeah.
European invasion. No, this is actually the crux of our conversation. This is where you come in. We can't keep crying foul. Trust me, what one generation permits, the next generation will amplify. And so what one generation begins to speak, the next generation will amplify it. So if we begin to change the narrative and speak the Nigerian, the African, I'm sorry, I'm Nigerian. Sometimes I, keep speaking Nigerian, right? But I mean, I'm speaking on an African level. If we begin to sell the true African identity, the culture we share in education, the culture we share in technology. I mean, we also don't even want culture that will take and technology that will take away our roots, our culture, because those are the things that we
Right.
really are. So when we sell the African narrative, the African identity, when we begin to speak the African narrative, trust me, it might start off as a little spark, right? But if you are familiar with what happened in Nigeria, one generation woke up and said, Soros, okay, like, no, we don't want this.
Right.
This thing has tarried for too long. I agree with you, Oyin. Some has to go. I mean, we'll get to that. Apologies. I mean, a call came through. I had to visit. Right. So when we begin to sell that narrative, it will. trust me, you're not the only one that's dissatisfied with the African media narrative. There are many other Africans
People.
in many other African countries in the millions that are also dissatisfied. But when your spark somewhere in Lagos, Nigeria, somewhere in Warri, Nigeria, and thank God for social media that's able to connect us, when you begin to spark your own, I mean, from where you are, you raise your Africa Rising somewhere. I raise my storyteller somewhere. Another person does the thing. In fact, even in Jos, I have spoken about Jos. I have a friend who is telling the Jos narrative in a beautiful, fantastic way. And his Instagram page is Discover Jos. When you go there, you'll see people on the comment section, really? Jos, is this beautiful? Really? This exists in Nigeria? Really? Yes, it does. So when he's doing his thing somewhere in Jos, I'm doing my thing somewhere in Delta. You're doing your thing somewhere in Lagos. Someone is doing his thing in Nairobi. Another person is doing his thing in Ghana. There is a way that energy will continually, there is a ripple effect. What we begin to voice, another generation will even amplify so much more, because it's an amplification of the bad narrative that has brought us to where we are. So everyone at their space where they are, you must amplify the African identity first. And then the second thing I want us to do, honestly, I'm also guilty to an extent, but I'm repenting right before you. The second thing I want us to do is to amplify good African narratives when we see it. Right? So like I said, my friend is doing Discover Jos. At every point in time, I put up his handle on my social media feed. Guys, go see what Jos really looks like, right? Because if someone is doing something, if you're not doing it, one thing you owe Africa and the next generation is to amplify it. So on every medium that we have, social media and interpersonal relationship, we must also herald the good works that other people are doing. So you will see a post that says someone won the Olympiad. It is your responsibility to amplify. First, it's your responsibility to tell. I think I will just end it, end this talk in this way. Maybe you can take it. First of all, it's my responsibility to tell. Then it's my responsibility to amplify. It's my responsibility to tell the narrative. It's my responsibility to amplify. I wouldn't come and lie to you that some of the narrative is wrong. It's not, right? But while we are getting our act right, while we are getting some of the things that, like Oyin said, some of the cultures have to go. In the process of getting it right, we also have to amplify the things we're getting right at the moment, right? So, Moi, I think I will stop here because I know I could go on and on, but I'm sure that whatever I will say in different ways will be to still say it's your responsibility to tell your story, regardless of whether you've got the audience or not. I must say that you have people that have a lot of audience now. I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking of the Ainas, I'm thinking about the other people that, are really big there. But also you, in your small circle, please do tell the story. Tell the story of the things that are going right. Right? Nobody washes dirty linen outside, by the way. You wouldn't see so much of the dirty linen of the European space or the Chinese space or you wouldn't see that outside. Tell the story of the true African narrative. And when I say Africa, please don't even think Africa all encompassing. Tell the story of where you are. Yeah? Tell your own story and amplify the stories of those that are selling the true African narrative. Now, we must understand that storytelling, I am so sorry. I'm about to enter some quote and unquote
no, it's
religious
fine. It's
thing,
fine.
but I will say it this way. You must understand that storytelling, as much as it is a report of what's happening, also at the back of the mind, you must have the motive to prophesy what you're looking for, right? So what is your vision for the future? This is where we are at. This is the vision for the future. So when you amplify the truth, you're also saying that this is going to spread to places that don't have this. Someone said that NEPA, we don't have light in Nigeria. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Light has not tripped in my house throughout this year. If it has tripped, it has tripped only for the periods wherein they were doing maintenance. I know it's not the same everywhere, but this is my story. I'm amplifying that in Nigeria, you have spaces that have light for the entire 365 days. Did you know that existed?
Right.
No, you didn't. So tell your story. We must be prophetic about it, but we must also be intentional about it. Tell the story, amplify the story. I think I will just land my plane on that.
That's very good. Thank you so much. Yes, to corroborate what you said, I remembered I served in during my service here, I served in Osun State. I literally served in a village in Osun, Iragbiji. And I remember that for a period of 1 year, I literally can't remember of a day that light went. Like I would always say that
Wow.
that's at least for Osun State, I know that they have good. I don't know if it's still the same now, but then they have really good source of. I'm with you.
Moi, you owe us and everyone on this platform and Nigeria and Africa, the entire world, to tell that story. I mean, even if it means to do a vlog to the place, because when they sell a village to you on BBC documentary, my God, it's not anywhere remotely close to what you're saying. Share that
And the
experience.
city,
Tell that
the
story.
Iragbiji actually had really good road. Like I was shocked because it's one of those villages that you would pass through a town to get there, but the road is good. They had good
Hmm.
road, water was there, light, like the lights there. I'm like, really? For a village, like when I was posted there, I was a bit skeptical that what's going to happen to me here. But I enjoyed a pure. I'm sure if I wanted to stay back there, I would gladly stay back there. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you so
Oh, my
much,
pleasure.
Mr.
My
Victor.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
My
You've really
pleasure.
done justice to this session. And like you said, what one thing I'm going to take away, and I believe every of our audience is going to take away, is the change starts from us as individuals. We should not
Yeah.
push it to we should not push it to the journalist or to the media houses or to the government. It starts with us as individuals. In the little beautiful things that happen within our environment, we should be glad, we should be bold to say it to the world. And another thing that I pointed out about one of the things you said is even when we think we don't have the audience, we should keep at it. We should
Yes.
keep at it even when we don't, because even now talking about the skit makers on Instagram, it's not
Yeah.
the day that we know them that they started. Most of them have started way back,
Yes.
but they
Yes.
just it was the consistency that got them noticed. So as
Yes.
individuals also, if we keep at it, if we keep showing, spotlighting the good things happening in our environment, one day definitely, if everyone does that, we're definitely sure that Africa will be portrayed in a good light, in a
Yes.
better light. Because,
I
like you
agree.
said, these European countries don't watch their dirty linear out there, but in
No, they do
Africa,
not.
it seems
No,
we
they
bring
do
it
not.
out. we
Yes,
we
we
bring
do.
it out with boldness to see, for the world to see. And at the end of the day, it just means that we need to do a good job in portraying Africa as individuals. Let's say it. Let's share it. If we would normally do Snapchats, even let's forget about going on IG Live. Even our WhatsApp status would go a long
Yes,
way.
I
Because
agree.
when our community sees it, they definitely share it, and then it just goes on and on and on and on. And that's one of the things we are after at Africa Rising, at Story Correcting Africa, just to tell the true African story, to show the true African excellence to the world. To the world, we're tired of, yes, Africa is not portrayed in a good light, but we can't just
Mm.
keep pointing out when we already know what is wrong. What needs to be done is to make a correction to it.
Yeah,
And from this session, we've learned that one of the ways we could literally correct this is to, as individuals, portray Africa, portray our environment. Let's even leave
mm,
Africa or the states that we are in or the country that we are in, the area that we are in. When a good innovation springs up from there, let's tell it, let's shout about it, let's make a loud noise, even if we think it's tiny. because these European countries make loud noise about the tiny things too. So we
Yep.
should be bold
Yep.
to make noise
Yep.
about anything. Once we know it is good, it is a good cause. Let's gladly make noise about it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
We're really glad to have you stay till the end. Thank you, Mr. Victor. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your
Thank
time
you
with
so
us,
much
and
for having
we
me.
hope
Thank
when
you so
next we
much.
invite you, you make our time to join us
Or
again.
anytime. Anytime.
Thank you so much. Thank
I
you
owe you
so much.
guys. I actually owe you guys a vlog of when I went to Ghana. I actually took some shots, but I have not had the time to. But I mean, I will tell that the Ghana narrative too. So yes, anytime you call me, I mean, I'm here. Hopefully, I know that we had a lot of back and forth for this one, but hopefully,
That's
hopefully,
fine.
thank you for having me. It's been a delight. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, till next time, that will be in the next 2 weeks, same time again. You will know who we're bringing on board this time and the topic we're talking about. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining once again. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. That will be all for this episode. Thank you so much, Mr. Ubute, for coming around
Thank you.
again. Thank you. Have a restful weekend, everyone. Till when next to see you.
All right. Bye.